Hi everyone, I'm Ken from CryptoTradingKS and the CTKS method. We're going to do a little bit of fun. We're going to have a look at crypto gainers and losers versus Bitcoin. And right now, right at the top, we can see IMX is leading the charge. On the bottom, Form is out of form in a big way. This is going back to around the 16th, so around 3 days. You can see that it's IMX, AVAX, NIA, DEXI, Pengu, LDO, and just in there is ETHFI. Leading the bottom of the pack, Form, ENA, Pump, Pole. Let's zoom in and check the past 24 hours. In the past 24 hours, leading up the top of the pack is NIA, DEXI, IMX, and AVAX. And it's really interesting. Look at this. DEXI literally did a big surge up, and then retraced that green fire. This is what we call green fire. And well done to everybody who gave their favorite lyrics from the song from yesterday's video. Just awesome. Those songs are really helpful. Now, what's happening at the moment inside the market, we can see even though these are the top gainers, they're all pretty much coming back, with the exception of AVAX. Just keep your eye on AVAX. It's going to be a really interesting one to see how it unfolds. And down the bottom of the pack, Pump, JTO, and Radium, Ray. The crypto market is incredibly volatile. That's why we must know in advance where the algorithms are likely to buy and sell. Therefore, with the charts marked up with L1 and L2 certification, we're looking at DOGE, Solana, Pepe, BNB, ADA, XRP, Ethereum, Bitcoin, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum Classic, and Pax Gold. Here, we're looking over the past roughly 11 days, and we can see that we've had a really good run-up, especially in DOGE. DOGE and Solana are currently the best, followed by Pepe. Leading the back of the pack is Pax Gold. That's probably not surprising. But in terms of major cryptos, Ethereum Classic, Bitcoin Cash, and Litecoin. We can drill down into any of these charts at any time to look at the structure in accordance with the standard certification. The most important chart to keep our eye on is undoubtedly Bitcoin. Now, could structure determine in advance that we were going to come up into this area and have an issue? Well, let's find out. Let's just pop on that invite only indicator. Okay, so what are we seeing? It's pretty substantial. Overhead resistance at 117,891. We saw that Bitcoin did its absolute damnedest to get above it, but was rejected once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, and a whole bunch of times here, and has since weakened. Now, what does Bitcoin need to do to punch through this? It must draw the shorts into the market. Now, what is the point of drawing the shorts into the market? When the shorts cover, they become forced buyers. Forced buyers, especially under panic, which means that we've got to see a fairly good retrace. The shorts have to feel, I'm totally on the right side of the trade. I'm going to go short. I'm going to make $1 billion, quadrillion right now. But the key is, if you're leveraging, please make sure that you know what you're doing and you know where the structural support levels are. Also, knowing how to read price structure is wildly important. Now, we can see very plainly that Bitcoin is under pressure, but where could Bitcoin be headed to, especially across the weekend, which is coming up? Now, let's have a look at this. So we just drill out a little bit and just go back there. Okay, just zooming out a bit. So we can see that we didn't hold this structural support level around the 117,300 mark. Now, what does it mean? This is a structural failure just on a very short-term basis. That puts the 116,300 into play. If we don't hold there, 115,700 is the level to watch. But remember, the concept here, the market makers are pulling in the shorts. The shorts, when they get liquidated, can take out this 117,900 mark and push Bitcoin above it. Always remember, price is always moving in a wave. It comes down, it goes up. It goes up, it comes down. It consolidates. But it's always moving structurally. Look at this structure through here. The 115,700 is key, and a lot of people will be looking there. We already knew it at the start of the month. That's how good our levels are. We knew this at the start of the month as well. We know where the algorithms are buying and selling. Now, why is Bitcoin important to the crypto market? As Bitcoin moves, so too does the entire crypto market. If Bitcoin is doing this, you can have a 99% probability that your alts are doing the same. If Bitcoin is doing this, you've got a 99% probability that your alts are doing the same as well. One key rule to keep in mind is Rule 45. No alt can escape Bitcoin's gravity. Now, what does this mean? I'll show you. Now, just before I do that, just remember Rule 93. Bitcoin's fingerprint impacts every alt. Now, if you're new to crypto, what the heck is an alt? It is literally everything other than Bitcoin in the crypto space. Here we're looking at Bitcoin, which is this candlestick chart, and this is on a 1-minute basis. Notice, if Bitcoin is coming up, the alts will come up. If Bitcoin is going down, what's going to happen to the alts? They'll come down. Now, you can see that DOGE is going up a little bit, but if Bitcoin comes down, just rest assured that is how the crypto market works. Now, this is on literally a 1-minute basis. If this can't convince you that Bitcoin dominates the crypto market, I'm not really sure what will ever convince you. For example, we were saying right here on DOGE, Bitcoin coming down, DOGE coming down. Now, what happens when we get signs of life inside the crypto market? If Bitcoin is coming up, we can use the alts to detect basic strength or weakness inside of Bitcoin. We're always seeking to understand where Bitcoin is going between structural levels. Now, one thing to note on the Bitcoin chart, going from the same 1-minute basis. So we've just zoomed in here and we can see that 117,900 is a really big headache for Bitcoin. This is the level to watch. If we get above that, that's looking fantastic. Now, what's happening with Bitcoin currently? And what do you need to keep your eye on? We are in a downtrend. So what does this mean? Negative price momentum at the current time. Is the downtrend weakening? Actually, the downtrend is strengthening from this perspective, and we're coming up to a basic underside retest of this particular very, very short-term line. But a lot of retail traders will be looking at this kind of line. But actually, the structural overhead resistance is at 117,260. So it's not actually at that line. Now, a lot of people say, oh, Ken, I'm an investor. I'm in Bitcoin and I'm just in it for the long term. If Bitcoin drops from 117 to 86, you might find that you bail on your investment. But with trading, you can tell when the strength or weakness is coming into the market and you can do something about it. Also, another point, a lot of people will buy into green fire, but they'll get burnt because the green fire, when it comes up into overhead structural resistance, will back off until such time as it gathers enough momentum and strength to push through it. The best thing any investor could ever do is to know where the structural support levels are and just DCA in on those levels, according to their strategy. Now, what could potentially happen here? Until we bypass this 117,200, it's a downtrend, and that's what you need to just be aware of. And this particular trend has been weakening because there's just far too many sellers here. The concept of structural passes and structural failures is really important to know. So we know that we've got structural support down around this 114,900 mark. You've also got it 115,800. 116,200 is another level around that 117,200 and the infamous 117,900. That is the one to watch. Unless we get above there, we're not going higher until we can take that one out. It doesn't matter what projections are made for Bitcoin. If we don't bypass 117,900, it's not happening. There's actually a massive problem when it comes to retail thinking. Retail thinking just looks at very, very short-term lines, such as this and such as this. And it says, if I get above there, it's all good, it's going to the moon. Unfortunately, structural overhead resistance has something else to say about that, as we saw with this 117,900 level. Just because something moves up doesn't mean it's going to keep on going. If the sellers are there, they will push it down until it finds a rock solid level of support or sometimes builds a base. Now, we know through the CTKS method that Bitcoin doesn't walk alone. It is not the sole participant inside the market. We've got Forex, we've got commodities, we've got stocks, we've got so many other things. And all of those things together impact everything else. Understanding how all the world's markets move together is really important. For example, when we look at Forex, we can see the Forex is not trading all the time. This is versus Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the candlestick chart and all the different Forex pairs, they're just given to you right there. I thought I would do this little thing to help you out in terms of how to pronounce these different pairs. I hope this kind of thing is helpful. Now, when we look at this, you can see, okay, let's just have a look here. This is dollar yen, this is the Dixie, the DXY, this is the loonie, the Canadian dollar, this is the Aussie dollar, this is Bitcoin, Euro dollar, Great British pound, and so forth. Now, what is cooking here? What we see is that Bitcoin came up. Perhaps I'll just zoom in here a little bit to help you out. If you've been doing the cheat sheet, you're going to be seeing some really bizarre things happening. It looks to be a bit of a changing of the guards. Now, right up here, what are we? Up the top here, we have the Swissy, dollar Swiss, we have dollar yen, we've got the Dixie, the DXY, and the loonie, dollar Canadian. Now, what are we seeing here? As the DXY moves up, it's basically just moving in alignment with Bitcoin. Now, this is typically not the case. Typically, it's an inversion. Typically, the euro dollar actually moves up and Bitcoin and the stock market moves with it. But we're seeing a bit of a changing of the guards here, and I thought I would show you this way. After all, when you read the cheat sheet, you want to apply it. That's what it's all about. So typically when the Aussie dollar and the euro dollar go up, and you can see they're coming down here. This is the Aussie dollar, that yellow line. The blue line is the euro dollar. When they come down, typically we see Bitcoin also come down. But with this changing of the guards that's happening right at the current time, we're seeing the opposite. Bitcoin is moving with the DXY, and that is weird. One thing that I've seen over so many decades being inside financial markets, changing of the guard is pretty normal, and it occurs around structural shifts. That is, something inside the economic system just got twanged. Of course, that's a technical term. So when you look at this, if we get continued upward momentum in the DXY, in dollar yen, and continued weakness in the euro dollar and the Aussie dollar, we're probably likely to see Bitcoin going up. And where Bitcoin goes, the stock market goes as well. Ken, is that correct? I thought crypto and the stock market are completely different. You'll actually find that they're not all that different. Here is Bitcoin, here the S&P 500 futures. This is the NASDAQ futures against Bitcoin. This is the Dow futures against Bitcoin. Russell 2000 against Bitcoin. And here's the Nikkei, the DAX, the Hang Seng, and the ASX. Now, what do we notice here? What happens, for example, when the S&P 500 comes down? Does Bitcoin go up or does it come down with it? What about the NASDAQ? When the NASDAQ is retracing, is Bitcoin going for it or Bitcoin coming down? And then when the S&P 500 comes up, is Bitcoin coming up? What about the NASDAQ? Is it coming up? Is it following? When it's retracing, is it retracing? Pretty interesting stuff, isn't it? A lot of people think that the crypto market and the stock market are just like really bad neighbors. They just won't ever hang out together and have a beer. In fact, the stock market says to Bitcoin, hold my beer. How can we read this very short-term price action in terms of Bitcoin right now? Now, a lot of retail would be saying, oh, it's cutting over, it's a trend change, it's all good. Not just yet. This is literally just retesting the underside of all of that, and it's coming up into structure. So the reason we went flat like here is because of this structure. Always read CTKS structure towards the right. And of course, you can apply it back towards the left, but it's read from the right. It's a leading indicator of where all the algorithms and smart money, that's where they're actually hanging out. And it's a really good indicator and something that we need to keep our eye on. We can see that up until around the 117,400, we do not have a change in trend. Now, we might have a very minor change in trend at 117,300 so long as it tests and resumes upwards. If it breaks here, even if it pops its head up and gets whack-a-moled and then it goes down and does something like that, well, that's not a structural pass. It has to stay above that line. Until we get that, there's negative downside momentum inside the crypto market. Now, if you see individual projects just going for it, just remember that gravitational pull is absolute. They can escape it for a while, but not forever. Let's go across to ADA because ADA's been really interesting. It's had a degree of strength. Now you can see ADA starting to look really good. It is looking good. There's no question about it whatsoever. The issue is ADA's fate is tied to Bitcoin. Now, how do we know that? Well, we know Bitcoin weakened and put itself into a downtrend. It's just done that bit of a upside reversion. But unless Bitcoin is out of the wilderness and going positive again, be really careful. If you're trading, that is. If you're investing, use these downsides as opportunities to accumulate. But of course, we need to know where the structure is. If we don't know where the structure is, we're just flying blind. And we can see that literally ADA just came into structure. So where is that sitting? That structure is sitting at 92.90. We also have just a level below here at that 92.30 and also 91.29. If we get above the 92.30, 92.89, that's good, but we literally need to get above the 93.84 on Solana. Now, why there? Why not just get above 93.20? Because Solana is showing a lot of strength. It needs to take out that top, and we would anticipate that if Bitcoin confirms around its resistance level and flips it to support. In other words, around that 117,300, if we get that upward progression over that 117,300, we would expect ADA to take out, well, the next target is ADA taking out its previous top. This is how you can use Bitcoin and the alts and structure for targeting. Now, personally, I would be waiting for Bitcoin to show me a degree of strength. You don't have to hit every ball that comes your way. You don't have to swing at everything. You don't have to chase every single move. You don't have to BORSOG, buy on red and sell on green on every single wave, because the waves have different variations in terms of their profit percentages. Sometimes the profit percentage is not worth it. You could be really mystified why some projects such as BNB, it doesn't really matter what the chart is, why do some projects hit a level and start getting support? Well, the reason for that is always structure. And structure is not recent indicative price structure, it's actual structure formed through 2 levels of standard certification. So we can see at this current level, we're coming into structure on BNB at that 982.10 cent mark. Now notice, this is the projected path for Binance Coin to hit its target for the month, and it's already done so. Congratulations to all those BNBers out there. Now, as BNB put in its green fire, what happened? It broke the $1,000 mark. Well done, congratulations. Now it's at 982. Why? Bitcoin. That's why understanding the cheat sheet, understanding interdependence, intercorrelation is so important. Now, is BNB really strong? The answer is no, it's not strong. It's under a degree of negative price momentum until it gets at least above the 988. That doesn't even solve anything because it needs to get above this 992 to reestablish an uptrend. It literally doesn't matter what chart that you're looking at. You have to understand if the trend is strengthening or weakening. And when trends go parabolic, like what we saw Binance Coin do, they bleed sufficiently back to normalize the price. So green fire will burn you, especially if you wait to get really certain, Binance Coin's heading to 1,000, it's going to be 2,000 by tomorrow morning or in 3 hours or whatever it is, and all of a sudden it's just obliterated your position, especially if you go in under leverage. Stories kill profit and structure makes profit. So we know right now that this 982.10, 982.20 mark is fairly good. It's reacting to that structure, and we already knew it was there from the start of the month. Now, if it doesn't hold this structure, 974 and 969 are on the cards. If it does manage to get above, 992 is your next target. Now, this wildly depends on what Bitcoin does. A lot of people will just say, I'm just looking at BNB's chart, or I'm just looking at DOGE's chart, or just XRP, or just something, but not what they really need to be looking at. Looking at Bitcoin structurally will make you a fortune, because then you can apply that concept of structure and also the structure of your money charts, the charts that you're putting money into, and you can see where the algorithms will sell down. Even if it looks really green, if it's coming into structure, there's a high probability chance of a reversal. We know recently that DOGE has been very powerful. So what is the structure looking like on DOGE at the current time? Well, we've reached our monthly target only 19 days in. Wow, that's really nice. And the levels for you to watch, again, we must just pay a lot of attention to what Bitcoin is doing. If Bitcoin doesn't break out of that downtrend, if it doesn't confirm higher levels of structural support, assume a negative follow through. But if it gets above there, assume a positive follow through until proven otherwise. DOGE is currently 27,880. At 27,776, there's that structural support and pretty much the target for this month. And we've got structural support at that 27,389, 26,905, and 26,124. The key that you'll want to watch is this 28,559. That is the key for a considered uptrend. What's the next level of resistance? If DOGE manages to flip this structural resistance to structural support, we can see literally up near that 3,500 is the next level. So that is just awesome stuff. But of course, everything depends on Bitcoin structure. So please make sure you monitor that structure very carefully. Please let me know what cryptos are you trading in at the current time, and I'll see what I can do to do a bit of analysis for you in upcoming videos. Have a great day or night ahead, my friends, and Kate and I look forward to catching up with you again in the next video. Bye for now.